Hey, we are live and ready, Mr. Mayor, when you are.
Okay, sounds good. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's a regular meeting of the Seldovia City Council on Monday, February 12th, 2024. Time is 6:04 p.m. And we'll go ahead and do roll call. Keithley.
Here.
Langbart.
Here.
Rojas.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
And Swick.
Here.
Okay, and we'll make a note that Councilmember Payton is absent tonight, so we have 5 out of 6 are present, and we do have a quorum. And Liz or Heidi, if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, that'd be great.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and on the agenda, we did have just a corrective note. We had Keithley as excused, but that's going to be switched to say Payton as excused absence.
And Mr. Mayor, I will be boarding in about 45 minutes on a plane, so I will be ducking out. So I just want to note that.
Okay, so you're at the airport now, I take it?
I am, yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Appreciate your dedication. We'll get through a few of these while you've got a few minutes here. So awesome. Okay, let's see here. Item D, agenda approval. We'll go ahead and look for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda by Rojas, second by Swick. Any further discussion before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of tonight's agenda. All those in favor, Keithley?
Aye.
Langbart?
Aye.
Rojas?
Aye.
Kennedy?
Aye.
And Swick?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5 in the affirmative with 1 absent. So tonight's agenda is approved. Item E, consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are approved with a single motion, no discussion, and 1 vote. The council member may request to remove an item for discussion and a separate vote. Items removed from the consent agenda will be placed under new business. Tonight's consent agenda consists of item E1, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting, January 22nd, 2024. And item E2, which is ordinance introduction, ordinance 24-06, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, repealing chapters 2.52 and 2.53 and reenacting chapters 2.52 City Personnel System to establish the City of Seldovia personnel policy. Recommended public hearing is February 28th, 2024. And does any member at this time wish to remove either of these items to be discussed separately? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and look for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
I'm Mayor Campbell.
Yep, go ahead, John.
I make a motion to approve tonight's agenda as read.
Okay, that'll be the consent agenda. Yep. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Kennedy to approve tonight's consent agenda as written, with a second by Keithley. Any further discussion on the consent agenda before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of tonight's consent agenda. All those in favor, Keithley?
Aye.
Langbart?
Aye.
Rojas?
Aye.
Kennedy?
Aye.
Swick?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5 in the affirmative and 1 absent. Item F, mayoral proclamations, none tonight. Item G, public presentation, prior notice. We have none. Item G, public presentation for items not on the agenda. Liz, do we have anybody signed up on?
No, Mr. Mayor, we do not.
Okay. Anyone in the audience that wish to speak on public? Okay. Let's see, we'll go to item I, Committee and Advisory Board reports. And I do believe we have Dr. Zink in attendance tonight.
Am I on?
Yep, we got you loud
Okay,
and
good.
clear.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm here to talk about current concerns and activities of the Prince William Sound Regional Citizens Advisory Council. My discussion tonight is a follow-up to the Board of Directors meeting of January 24 and 25. I'm Seldovia's representative to this board. Just a little background. After the Exxon Valdez oil spill of 1989, the Prince William Sound Regional Citizens Advisory Council was one of two citizen committees formed to monitor oil storage, loading, and transportation in Prince William Sound. The other was in Cook Inlet, and Walt Sonnen is the representative for that one. The committees are funded by the oil industry. The mission of Prince William Sound RCAC is to ensure safe and spill-free storage and shipment, and to monitor and address the impact of oil shipment on the marine environment, specifically in Prince William Sound. But as you know, there were a whole lot of areas affected, including Seldovia, in that oil spill. And so we're part of that whole group. And Ketchmack Bay was heavily impacted by that oil spill. We employ and interact with scientists, shippers, and other marine experts who monitor the storage, loading, and shipment of oil from the Valdez Marine Terminal through Prince William Sound and into the Gulf of Alaska to 17 miles offshore. That is our mission. We are not charged with monitoring the pipeline itself and that kind of thing. We employ and interact with a number of scientists. We interact with shippers and other marine experts in operation of tugboat fleets, and scientists who are experts in marine environment, and other folks who monitor storage, loading, and shipment. And we are real interested in and keep an eye on tankers. Tankers carry up to 200 million barrels of oil and are escorted out of Valdez by tugboats that are capable of maneuvering tankers as needed and responding to problems that might develop during transport. The remains of the 1989 spill are still evident on the beaches in the area. I just read something the other day on in the Prince William Sound. They're still finding oil left over from 1989. So this is the point here is that oil doesn't go away. It continues to affect the marine environment. Of course, it's toxic to marine life. When there are spills, three methods are used to cope with oil spills on the water, and these are disbursement, which is a process that breaks up the oil molecules, distributes them in the water column, and sinks it. There's burning, which pollutes the atmosphere and the ocean, and there's containment and recovery, in which spilled oil is removed from the ocean surface. Containment and recovery are currently the most effective way to address spilled oil. However, recovery moves about 20% of the oil from the ocean and often less. So over time, the remaining 80% is distributed through the water column, and most of it ends up on the ocean bottom or the beaches. So we still have a real concern with that here. The bottom line is oil spill and prevention is the primary mission of the Prince William Sound Regional Citizens Advisory Council and the people who work with us. The January board meeting I've just picked a few highlights and of course, there's a lot that goes on in a board meeting, but I picked a few things to address. A board position representing the oil spill region recreational coalition was added to the Prince William Sound Board. The coalition promotes enhancement, preservation, and protection of recreational resources of Prince William Sound, Kachemak Bay, and all areas affected by the Exxon Valdez oil spill. We also heard from Alyeska, who is the owner of the pipeline and the Valdez Marine Terminal. And we got an update on the oil spill contingency plan for the Valdez Marine Terminal and the increased attention to maintenance and safety issues that have arisen within the last year and a half. One of the things that Alyeska is doing right now is they have added a new oil spill response barge to their fleet, and they have an oil spill storage barge that's being added this spring. The manager of the Valdez Marine Terminal provided an update on Alyeska's efforts to address issues described in a recent report commissioned by the Prince William Sound Council that assessed and addressed risks and safeties issues at Alyeska's Valdez Marine Terminal. The report was instigated by information brought to us by concerned employees of Alyeska. It was completed in the spring of 2023 and provided Alyeska, our congressional delegation in Washington, D.C., and our state legislators, and state and federal entities that monitor oil production, storage, and transport. In my opinion, the report addresses many issues related to the aging of a storage facility that's nearly 50 years old. A predominant concern right now at the marine terminal is deterioration of tank liners that are meant to contain oil should a leakage occur. Liners are constructed of an asphalt composite that is deteriorating due to age. And right now there's ongoing efforts to evaluate the deterioration and determine what has to be done to address the issue and remedy the problem. Another prominent concern is the effect of climate change on the storage facility itself. The moisture content of snowfall has increased over the years at the Valdez Marine Terminal, and accumulation on oil tanks. The snow is now accumulating on oil tanks, whereas before it would be shed. But it's damaging vents and posing some structural risk to the tanks themselves. By the way, each tank covers an acre. It holds a little over, 510,000 barrels of oil. So they pose a significant threat if something happens there. Previously, in past years, snow accumulation wasn't a problem, and the volume of oil in the tanks and the temperature at which oil came in from the pipeline would cause those tanks to shed snow. At this point, it's accumulating on the tanks, and instead of melting, and Alyeska has been faced with removing the snow to preserve the integrity of the oil storage tanks. Oil, due to the diminished volume of oil flowing through the pipeline, doesn't enter the tanks at a temperature time frame that previously assured that snow on the roofs would melt. Besides the moisture content of the snow being a contributor, the tanks themselves produced heat, and snow would be shed. But coming in the tanks at a slower rate, often being in a tank at a lower volume over a period of time has had quite an impact on that. Alyeska has taken to clearing tank roofs by crews of workers. So each tank has a conical roof of 1 acre in diameter. Tanks are 62 feet high, and roofs are not designed to accommodate people shoveling them off. There's significant safety risk to the crews. The only way to remove snow is manual. You can't put anything that generates electricity or spark up there. So anyway, crews are removal crews are 8 to 11 people. The crew process is very methodical and the crews rotate frequently due to safety concerns. Takes 1 or 2 weeks to clear a roof. Around 80 people are involved when roof clearing is required for the 14 tanks that are in service. So just a bit of information, a little bit of what's going on there. The plans and ongoing activities at the Prince William Sound Regional Council include continuing to monitor the study of marine life in the area of the spill. That's been an ongoing task since the council was founded. Attention to invasive species which may be carried in on tanker hulls. Recently, we've had the green crab come into Alaskan waters, and that's a pretty predatory critter and poses a danger to other marine life. We also plan to continue ongoing drills and training related to spill response, which includes these spill response trainings include Alyeska employees and equipment, shippers that transport oil, those who monitor and protect oil shipments, in other words, tanker crews and other folks, and also fishing fleets, volunteers, mostly from the area of Prince William Sound. Let's see, what else do I have here? Training and drills occur annually to train and equip tanker crews and volunteers in oil spill prevention and spill response. By the way, as we do this, our best and most reliable way of preventing problems to the environment is to prevent spills. So very high emphasis on that. Cleaning them up, as I've said before, is very difficult. That's pretty much my summation of what's going on at present. If you have specific questions for me or interests or concerns, do get in touch with me. My email address and phone number were included in the note that I recently distributed to council members along with a year in review booklet that was in late December, early January. And the information, my contact information, is available at the city office. Again, if you have specific concerns, let me know and I'll give them some attention. If I don't know something, there's a pretty good crew at the council that the headquarters that can provide me with information or provide you with information. So with that, I'll just pause and see if there's any questions.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Zink. Anyone from council have any questions or comments? Okay. Sounds pretty
Thank you.
quiet. What, you got anything else, Dr. Zink, or is that it for this evening?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good information. Yeah, I know I got a couple questions. I'll send you those on email regarding some of the stuff regarding age of tanks and what their plan is, maybe specifically going forward as they start replacing those. I know they do periodic liner maintenance and stuff, but yeah, the actual structures themselves, I'd be curious to see what the long-term plan is for replacement of those.
Yeah, I don't think there's any plan to replace the tanks, but the liners definitely need attention. And, and I'd be happy to supply you with that information. Also, there's people at Alyeska that can address those. And of course, those people come to our meetings and so on. So one way or the other, we can get you an answer on that. Thank you.
Great. All right. Thank you. Appreciate your presentation tonight. Thanks for keeping us up to date. Okay, we'll move on to, I think, let's see, Liz, that was the only one, correct?
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. We'll move on to administrative reports, and I don't believe we have any of those this evening.
That's correct.
Okay, we'll move on to item K1, ordinance 24-05, a non-code ordinance of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, amending the fiscal year 2024 operating budget by appropriating $30,900 from the general fund ending fund balance to the Seldovia Permanent Fund for the repayment of the Seldovia Gateway Kiosk Project. This was introduced on January 22nd, 2024, and we'll go ahead and let staff take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this was sponsored by Councilmember Swick. I know this is something that she's been in support of for a while, is seeing that money that was appropriated for the kiosks returned back to the Seldovia Permanent Fund. In fact, it's a council priority for 2024. So knowing that we are potentially looking at being out of the deficit in the general fund at the end of FY23. We'll have that audit here completed soon. And in FY24, continuing to make gains, is a prudent time to be able to take those funds and put them back. It's also something that our auditing team has asked about a couple of times, is when the plan is for those to be returned. You'll see that on page 64. And I'm here if you have any questions. Oh, I will point out that at this point in time, after having discussion with Councilmember Swick, those funds are being recommended to be put back into the AMLIP portion of the Seldovia Permanent Fund. And the consideration for that really is if council has any desire to utilize funds in the future, and knowing that those funds are restricted for a land acquisition. There is a few projects in the capital improvement plan that may require that land acquisition. So putting in the AMLIP Seldovia Permanent Fund account versus the Charles Schwab Seldovia Permanent Fund account leaves it a little bit more liquid in case of an event of that happening. However, that is at your guys' discretion if you would rather see them moved into Charles Schwab. Right now, the resolution does specify the AMLIP account just in case there is a future project that council would like to utilize funds for. So here for questions. Thank you.
You're muted, Mr. Mayor.
Oops. Yep. Gotcha. Thank you, Heidi. Any additional comments or questions from anyone on council regarding ordinance 24-05?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'll just add on to that. So we did discuss this, and we went back and forth on. I initially wanted to put it in the Charles Schwab, but because the idea before was keeping the money out of the just in cases, and thankfully we haven't had to use those. But like she said, there's the rolling stock building or possibilities for that, and also probably more importantly is the sewer treatment lagoon, whatever is going to happen there, if we need to have funds to move forward with that. Not that this could fulfill all that, but it could help. It's kind of hard to think that 30,000 doesn't really go very far, but I think keeping it out at this point in time is the smarter thing to do in case we do need to use that. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep. Go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, I'm glad to see this transfer is going forward. Thank you very much for initiating it, Councilmember Swick. Just a quick question. The rental, refresh my memory, the money that we take in for the kiosk rentals, do those go into the operating budget or do those go to the harbor? Refresh my memory.
Through the mayor, thank you. Yes, those do go into the general fund, which is where this 30,900 is moving. Moved from, and I believe to date with the new billing cycle, we're at about 2,300. So small gains, not at the 30,900, but we are seeing some revenue from those buildings.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian. Anyone else questions, comments on ordinance 24-05?
And I'm sorry, not 2,300, 23,000. Let me correct
I was gonna
that.
ask you that. I thought we were making a little bit more money than that.
So sorry about that.
Yeah, obviously I'll make a quick comment. Yeah, no, I think this is the right thing to do. Timing's good. This was part of the initial plan to use that money for that project. It's done. It's slowly paying its way back. It obviously a little longer than we had hoped for, but it seems to be working as the years go by here. So yep. I think we're doing the right thing, and I do like that it's going in the EMLA portion to make sure that it stays a little more liquid in the event that we needed to grab a hold of it for something. So something unforeseen and possibly an emergency. So yep, that's all I got. Anyone else? Okay, was anyone from the public, Liz, that's signed up tonight to comment on ordinance 24-05?
No, Mr. Mayor, we do not have anybody previously signed up, and nor do we have any in the room.
Okay, all right, we'll go ahead and bring it back to council for final action on ordinance 24-05.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 24-05.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Swick to approve ordinance 24-05 with a second by Kennedy. Any further discussion on ordinance 24-05 before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of ordinance 24-05. All those in favor, Keithley,
Aye.
Langbart,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Swick.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes with 5 in the affirmative and 1 absent. So that was ordinance 24-05, and that is passed. Thank you, everyone, for the discussion on that. Item L, unfinished business. We have none. Item M, new business. Item M1, resolution 24-27, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia approving a request for proposal for professional consultation services for the Jackaloff Bay Dock Replacement Project. And I'll go ahead and turn this over to the city manager to present.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the resolution is located in the packet on page 66, but the RFP itself is located in the laydown. There's a little bit of delay. We wanted to check it out a little bit more. We had Mayor Campbell look over it over the weekend and provide a little bit of feedback before we published it. We did receive our pre-award cost authorization from the PIDP agency, as well as the FY23 terms and conditions, which we were waiting on. With that, it's a go to start trying to hire a consultant to work with us on the project. If you look at the RFP, they really have 4 primary functions, and those are, I pull it up here. The big one is to provide the environmental assessment under the National Environment Policy Act. We did receive our status letter, and our timeline has begun to complete that permit. We have a year. That's what they anticipate that it'll take to complete the process. As of the end of, not last week, but the week before. And the status is an environmental assessment, which is a step up from a categorical exclusion, but not a full-on individual permit. It's still anticipated to be about a 100-page document, and procuring a consultant that'll be a big portion of their scope of services, is to complete that permitting as well as other permitting that's anticipated.
The second major task would be engineer and design for the construction package. And we're only asking that the design level, that the design be up to the level necessary to support permit applications and facilitate construction proposals. We did leave this a little bit open in case, so that we could see from the firm proposals if they wanted to do a design build or a design. Sorry, I'm have something stuck in my throat here. Or a design bid build, and just leaving it a little bit flexible to see what kind of proposals we've had. We've had a few companies reach out with different ideas and strategies, so I'll be curious to see what we receive back from them. The third big component being to assist with federal guidelines, compliance, and procurement strategy. This is really important due to the federal regulations that go along with this project, and it's something we met with our gateway director through MARED for the PIDP, as well as we've heard from other municipalities that they have had struggles with that through this program. So we're hoping to have somebody on board that can kind of, make sure that we are crossing our T's and dotting our I's and following the process, and being as compliant as possible. And then the last one is being the consultation for services for construction. This is more like an owner's rep. They would go between the city and the construction company. Well, first they would prepare a construction package RFP with the specifications. I think we put in language that we wanted them to be, and that might have been under the assisting, the procurement advisory, is that it would have a minimum design criteria or an RFP that we would put out with that included, as well as the construction documents, and then being able to provide some of that back and forth between the company and the city of Seldovia, and document management, as well as the back and forth between us and PIDP, again, to make sure that all of our regulations are being followed, T's are crossed, I's are dotted. With this, it'll go out tomorrow if it's approved tonight, and then they have until March 20th to submit their proposal. We'll open it the next day and then hope to provide a letter of intent to award that following Friday. I will make a note that we do not have a scheduled city council meeting for the second meeting of March because of Seward's Day is that Monday, the 25th, when we would typically have a meeting. But we wanted to give individuals more than 2 weeks time to prepare a proposal. So we will be looking at holding a special meeting that week of the 25th in order to award the RFP to hopefully, a qualified bidder. And that's what I have for that.
Great, thank you, Heidi. Go ahead and open it up to council for any questions or comments on ordinance 24-05. Excuse me, ordinance 24-27.
Yeah, I do have one question.
Yep, go ahead.
So they're going to submit a design. Do we get any say? Is it replacing the L that's there, or okay, they're not going to throw out some other shape or something that might be more beneficial? I don't know.
Thank you. Through the mayor, that's a great question and one that I've heard a few times. So no, the scope of the project as we applied was for a replacement of the existing dock.
Okay.
And that we're tied into that with our environmental review. If we try to start changing the design, then that environmental category the review category we're in could change and be a lot heavier of a lift and more expensive, as well as the funding may not cover what we the scope of the project as a whole. So With PIDP, we're tied in with funding and the environmental review. We're tied in to replace what is currently there.
Okay.
But better material, marine grade floats, marine grade
Right.
boards.
Okay,
know.
that's kind of what I thought, but I didn't know if it was open to adjusting, but yeah. Okay.
Okay, anyone else? Any questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Vivian.
Yeah, I think this is a really exciting time for Seldovia Resolution 2427. I can't believe we got it. I'm excited to see what RFPs we get, and look forward to this project coming about. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian. Anyone else? Questions, comments on resolution 24-27? I've got a quick comment. Yeah, you guys will notice on the, where was that at? Here on the schedule on this. Yeah, it was on section 1.2 background. Anticipated timeline, total is about, right now we've got on here is about, just based off the book, what we were told as part of the MARAD funding and project is about 2.5 years, which is 12 months of that is just permitting alone for the NEPA to get all that back. Things could go quicker, they could take longer, but generally about 12 months for the permitting piece and the pre-construction piece, and then about another 18 months, and that would be part of that would be the whatever delivery method is decided on for the contract. There could be additional design completion, then the procurement, and the actual construction. So all said and done, should be looking somewhere around 2.5 years, give or take. But certainly, it's exciting time to know that we've got a project in place, and this is the first step of moving this thing forward and actually getting it to come to fruition. So I'm definitely in support of it, and looking forward to getting this passed and getting the ball rolling here. And hopefully we'll get some good response on to the RFP. Anyone else?
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, go ahead, Meg.
It states here that it's a 46-year-old infrastructure. With the new material, is the lifespan to be expected longer than that?
For the new one?
Yeah.
That's a good question, and I would imagine that would come up. I think around 50 years is probably typical. I know the materials nowadays are way better than what they had back then, so it's possible that it's longer. But I think that would be part of the initial RFP response that we get back. Hopefully, we'll get a little bit of information on the lifespan of the new project being proposed.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. Anyone else? Questions, comments on resolution 24-27?
Mayor Campbell, I just have one. The sooner we get it completed, the better. I was a little surprised this evening when I got off on that dock for the first time, and it's been at least a year since I've been out there, and I was surprised at how close the water is with no snow on it, how close the water is to the top of it.
Did your feet get wet?
Yeah. I just was really surprised at how much it's went downhill in the last year.
Yeah, those floats are soaked, saturated. I mean, the buoyancy is little to none. So the sooner we get this done, the better. All right, any other questions, comments before we go to public? Okay, we'll go to public. Liz, do we have anyone from the public signed up to comment on resolution 24-27?
No, Mr. Mayor, we do not.
Okay, we'll go ahead and bring it back to council, and I'll look for a motion to approve resolution 24-27.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve resolution 24-27.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve resolution 24-27 by Rojas with a second by Langbert. Any additional questions, comments before we vote on resolution 24-27? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of resolution 24-27. All those in favor: Keithley,
Aye.
Langbart,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
Swick.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5 in the affirmative, 1 absent, and that is resolution 24-27. Congratulations. That has been a long time coming. So that's good work on that. Next item is item M2, resolution 24-28, resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, approving a lease with Kohl's Vending for a 1-year term and a monthly base rent of $350 for Seldovia Gateway Kiosk A, located on Lot 6, Block 10, Waterfront Resub number 1, and authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute the appropriate documents. And we'll go ahead and turn it over to the staff.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I need to apologize before, I don't know where I was getting my numbers from for when we were talking about the appropriation or the rents that we've received so far for the kiosks. I said 1,900. I meant 9,000. I tried to correct it because I was thinking about the recent 700 that we should have received from December, and somehow ended up at 23,000. That is not correct. Doing rough math, $350 a month, we receive about 8,400 a year. And we are at, because we did have a tenant starting mid-year of 2022. And last time I checked, we were at 9,600. You add $700 to that, we're a little over $10,000. Yeah, about a third of the return. And we can, as long as we hold steady where we're at now, we can anticipate that, about that amount, 8,000 a year with the rent the way it is.
Okay.
So speaking of, both leases for both kiosks are expired. I reached out to both tenants. I heard back from Kohl's Vending that he would love to be able to continue and have a new lease for a same terms as the previous one, a 1-year term at the monthly base rent of $350. So that is what is presented here. Of course, it's open to council consideration and negotiation. I will put one more item of note that I did hear back from the tenant from the other kiosks, and he has inquired if he could do month to month until April, because he's reevaluating his situation and may be looking at moving. So we will come back. I told him at the end of March, have a discussion and then make a plan moving forward for the summer for that space. But for now, we do have Kohl's Vending, who would very much like to continue utilizing the space and has asked for the same terms as they have currently.
Okay, great. Thank you for the update on that. And that's good news. And we'll go and open it up for discussion. If anyone on council has any questions, comments on resolution 24-28.
Mayor Campbell,
Yep, go ahead, John.
I'm in favor of proceeding with Kohl's. I don't see any issues with it.
Okay, sounds good. Anyone else?
If I may,
Yep, go ahead.
I just wanted to, I was trying to recall when we had discussed this last year and we had not an official plan, but I remember we kind of discussed a plan for when we were going to reevaluate. And I was just trying to remember what we had talked about if we were going to evaluate trying to plan on raising that rent at all. Not saying that I'm not in favor for continuing with this, but I just want to make sure that we can revisit what we had discussed. Because we had kind of a plan so that we could try to get those generating more money. And also, I think it was in conjunction with the possible demand as well. And I don't know, Heidi, if you can speak on that, if there's been other interest. I know it sounds like that one of them might be opening up if somebody was interested, but just curious.
Yes, thank you. Through the mayor. I have not heard of any additional interest at this time. I know from time to time we do hear things, but nothing solid. And certainly not during the winter. This is kind of a hard time for that. We did talk initially of during the initial concept of these kiosks, having a business plan that would be $500 a month. And that was, if you remember, when we put out the kiosks for a request for proposal for bids to rent them. That was what they started at, was $500 a month, and we didn't have any takers. Then they sat empty for, I don't know, 8 months. It was a while. And then we did receive a lease with All Nations Community Health. They were in there for a couple of months. Then they asked for a discount or a reduced lease for the winter for FY, that would have been 22, due to the fact that there wasn't heat in the building. And that was granted when we renegotiated again for the summer of 2023. That lease went up to $350 a month. And that's where both kiosks are currently at. If you guys want to look at increasing that, certainly we can bring that back into negotiations. We could look at just a CPI increase. I do think that there's a potential that one may be opening up for the summer. If we want to reevaluate it then, certainly open to any feedback or suggestions from council.
Thank you, Heidi. Did you have any follow on, Ashley?
No, I think that just refreshed my memory. I couldn't remember when we had stood on that. And I think in this circumstance, with one possibly opening up and with this tenant wanting to continue for one more year, I think staying where we're at, especially after seeing the numbers are that, but keeping that in the back of our minds after this cycle of possibly, I like the idea of a CPI increase just so that we don't get stagnant on those if they are starting to become something that is a need or a want for the community and that can generate a little more income for the city out of there.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yep, go ahead, Vivian. Meg, I'll get you next.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm in favor of this resolution. I also hope that we get another full-time renter, but I am actually a little bit shocked that the charge that we are charging, the $350 a month, is, I think, pretty fair when the prices that we're charging at the Seldovia offices, the Seldovia space, are less than, I think, the $350 that we're charging. And over there, they've got electricity, toilets, etc. So I think the $350, and thank you, Heidi, for filling us in on the actual numbers of dollars that we have taken in with the kiosks. Glad to see it's moving forward. We're actually collecting some money. I think the $350 for right now is fair. And I'm in favor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian. Appreciate your comments. Meg?
Yeah, I also approve this as well. I just wanted to just double check, Heidi. You said the kiosks are not currently heated?
So they are, they don't have a heat in it other than electric. And the
Okay.
electric does go back to the tenant. So we do charge for electric.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Meg. Anyone else?
I was the initial idea of having it cheaper than the 500 was that they were going to rent it the entire year. Was that how part of that came up? And not just, I want it for the summer? when it's actually busy?
I believe so. I think I had, there was some consideration for the fact that, that the year round, you know, they're
Right.
holding the space year round and providing a service year round.
Right. So I mean, I like that idea of offering that lower if you want it the whole year. Say if this other one comes up and somebody just wants it for the summer, then that could possibly open the door for, well, you're going to need, if you just want it seasonally shorter, then you're going to need to pay more. If you want to hold it all winter and keep it warm, you can pay a little cheaper. Yeah, I'm in favor of keeping his the way it is.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Yeah, and I'll just chime in too. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think we're on the right path here, and I appreciate Coles for wanting to renew this. Hopefully, it's mutually working out for him. I think it's working out good for us where we're at, and yeah, and I think the strategy of a short term, picking the cream of the crop there, I think that comes with a little bit more of a premium, obviously, if you're only going to skim off the good months. So I think anyone doing business in Seldovia and paying the fees that they pay fully understands that the cost of doing business year round and all the payments that go along with that. So yep, I'm totally in favor of resolution 24-28. Anyone else before we go to public? Okay, hearing none. Liz, do we have anyone signed up to comment on resolution 24-28?
No, Mr. Mayor, we do not.
Okay, we'll go ahead and bring it back to council, and I'll look for a motion to approve resolution 24-28.
Mayor
I'd like to
Campbell,
make a motion to approve resolution 24-28.
there you go.
Okay, do we have a second, John?
Yes, I second that.
All right, we have a motion to approve resolution 24-28 by Keith Lee. We have a second by member Kennedy. Any further discussion before we vote on resolution 24-28? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of resolution 24-28. All those in favor, Keith Lee,
Aye.
Langbart,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
and Swick.
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved with 5 in the affirmative, 1 absent. So that's resolution 24-28, the Kohl's vending lease that is approved. All right, thanks everyone for that. That looks like the majority, that looks like all the regular legislation tonight. We'll move into item N, city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll try not to drag this out too long. I know that we mentioned I mentioned in the work session, our septic lift station situation. That's going to be a project that needs to be taken care of in the immediate future. We've already reached out to some of our resources and are working on a temporary solution to Band-Aid the one existing pipe that's still operating in the lift station. The other one is completely broken. I did not realize we've been running on one pump for sounds like a couple of years. And the one pump with one pipe operating is looking like it's close to failure. So we are all hands on deck, looking for funding. There's a few avenues available for that. One being through the state revolving fund program. We do have 48,000 that we asked for to purchase replacement pumps. However, replacement pumps are not the issue. We have 2 on shelf that we purchased before we received the loan. So the current problem being the 6-inch ductile pipe, it being in poor conditions, rotting with holes in it and is leaking. And then it's attached to the pump, but the pump has a hook that's supposed to attach to the base. And that's completely, it's not attached anymore. It's loose. So it's rocking off the base and in need of complete replacement. We're looking at hopefully just a refurbishment project that would require confined space construction work. We'll hopefully be able to contract out for some of this and some decent suction, which we don't have at this time. So if it's hiring a pump, renting a pump. I'm looking at something that we can really get down there, suck everything out, pull everything out, put a new basin. So drilling holes, put a new basin, reattach the pump, reattach the pipe, put it back together. The overall project shouldn't take very long, but it needs to be really well planned. Everything on deck, because we're talking about stopping, plugging two sewer mains, one from Vista and one from town, pumping those directly into, so we have to get extra pumps and hose, pumping those directly into the septic tank, and then getting in and getting out and getting it taken care of. I don't have an estimate yet, but I am in contact with a firm out of Soldotna that this is their specialty. They're currently doing a lift station repair in Pelican, and they come recommended. And once we get kind of an idea of cost, we can also look at other alternatives for firms. This may be a limited procurement or sole source, depending on how much availability there is out there for people to complete this project. But I will let you know when we have that piece, as well as if we can use some of that state revolving fund money, if we need to put in another application for a different state revolving fund loan, or if there's other avenues that I also touched on with VSW when I reached out to them, that there is some project funding for the sewer treatment facility that should be coming through for the design initially, but is there a way to fast track to backtrack? Is there a way to utilize some of the fundings for this repair in the immediate future? I don't think that that's as much of a possibility, but we're at least exploring it. Once we have a better idea and understanding of cost and timeline and a proposal, we can bring this forward to council for appropriation and a bigger discussion. We are offering a employee de-escalation training in person tomorrow for all of our employees, whether depending with a consultant from our insurance company, AMLJIA. They will be traveling from their station in Soldotna, and they'll travel down to Seldovia, come across, do a couple-hour training, and then return. It's with Greg Russell. He's been here before to help facilitate some of the discussions on some of the police matters. This is something else that he is also really well versed in and comes highly regarded. So he'll come in, and all employees who are able to attend that do not have prior commitments are expected to participate. We do have a few that are leaving on the last ferry. That wasn't put into the consideration last ferry. So it's especially some of the ferry crew members are jumping ship while they can. But I think most everybody will be in attendance. And we also have invited the VPSOs and state maintenance operator because they both showed interest in wanting to be able to attend a training like this. So fingers crossed the weather holds and that can happen. Otherwise, we will delay until we can get him over here. Community grant, CDS grant, technical correction and application technical support. I'm going to start switching over, instead of calling this the CDS grant, calling it the community grant, because that's who our application is through, is the EPA community grant program. We did receive our approval for our technical correction for all the funding to go towards the City of Seldovia lower section of raw water transmission line replacement. So that's great news. We'll start moving ahead with that project. Additionally, the EPA reached out and they have offered technical support through the RCAC for the application process. I met with them both today. RCAC said they have plenty of funding right now. They are rearing to help communities with projects like this. And we're meeting Thursday to get started. So it's just one more thing that can be outsourced a little bit as we continue to work through these big projects internally. And like I said, they said they had funding for it, but even if they didn't, the EPA does keep reminding us that any of this work that we're doing, we should be tracking now, even though it's pre-award. So it's opposite of PIDP. Even though it's pre-award, it counts back towards. So as of when we first received it, I can't remember the exact date. Any work that we've done forward, we can get reimbursed for, and that includes this. So hopefully we'll have an application and a project timeline for council review here soon. With that, we also received our 2022 state and local cybersecurity grant that we applied for. This is a smaller grant of $9,450. We did it in conjunction with a few other municipalities in the state who also contract with Alaska Technical Solutions, our IT firm. Their recommendation was that we got on a call with them. We got on a call with the Division of Homeland Security, and the recommendation was that we all put in at one time for this funding cycle, and then when we receive the funds, ATS would go out. Even though they're individual projects, it would be like a big assessment throughout all of the communities that they would perform. So I'm waiting to hear back from Alaska Technical Solutions on next steps, and hoping we can get that project kicked off here soon as well. Speaking of program grant applications, the REVEAP is open. This is the Renewable Energy Village Energy Efficiency Program through the Alaska Housing Authority. They are looking at government and public buildings, energy upgrades. And we're not limited to how many projects we can submit. After speaking with Finance Officer Yeager, she's been waiting on this grant for over a year. And there's a strong interest to see the doors, windows, shop door replaced in the city office and insulation put in. As well as siding for the multipurpose buildings on our list. And we've thought, for the fun of it, just because it'd be a smaller request, heat pump for the harbor master's office. Those would be 3 separate applications, just to see if we get any bites. And of course, this is dependent on capacity. It does close at the end of February. The application process is like 8 pages. It's short. It's just a matter of having those budget cost estimates together in order to know what we are requesting. I was in a call with them, a work session a couple of weeks ago, and I did ask, because part of a component of the grant can be a request for an energy audit. And I said, well, but it can only be 20% of the project request. And so I was wondering how that would work if you wanted to go for an energy audit in order to know what work you needed for the grant overall. And they did tell me, along with the group, that you can apply for the grant with an energy audit in it, and then estimates of what, like a portion of what you think it would cost for those repairs. So it doesn't sound like it has to be super specific, but we're trying to be as specific as possible. AMHS MOA amendment. This was really exciting as we were trying to work through our dock conundrum. And I've had a few of our employees reach out and request a reevaluation of the ferry line handler wages. They've only received a 2.5% increase once in many years, because they're held to that contract portion as a pass-through with AMHS. I just put in there very bluntly that that wasn't working at this point in time, and could they just please meet us with a wage above $20 an hour and $300 a mortgage stop. And they came back and said yes. So we were able to sign that contract amendment, and it was effective as of February 9th. I'm working on the details for that wage increase, because we want to ensure, like we do for the SOC, that we're taking account of payroll liabilities, which is about 8% on top. And so still trying to hit right around that $20 mark, but without putting too much burden on the city for making up that difference of payroll liabilities. There might be a little bit, but we'll be in much better shape than we were before. AML winter legislative conference. Oh, and I did say as an aside, and I mentioned this in the work session for the dock, that we'll potentially be having a work session coming up during the budget about the dock fund, which is treated the same as the rest of the funds, general water, sewer, harbor, and BHO, where according to GASB standards and our audit, it's actually a non-major fund because it doesn't accumulate as much revenue or have as much expenditures. However, we put the same amount of allocation towards that fund for audit and some of our software, some of the things that we split out evenly across the funds. And I'd like us to reevaluate that internally. And so when we present a proposal for the budget, have that be a smaller allocation, maybe not even the audit included. We'll have to look at what that looks like for that fund, because it does not get as nearly as much attention as the other funds do as a non-major fund. So I look forward to that in the future and seeing if we can make some difference for that infrastructure. AML Winter Legislative Conference, just a reminder, this is coming up next week. Councilmember Langvart, myself, and City Clerk Diamond are scheduled to travel down. We have meetings already set up with several of our state delegates. We're meeting with Carpenter, Stevens. We're still nailing down a timeline with Vance. Stutes, we've arranged a meeting with, as well as the Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Transportation, staff for Senator Murkowski. We also requested a meeting with the Department of Health and Social Services, and that's set up for Thursday to discuss the senior meals program. While we're down there, we really just want to press on the importance of the program to our community, how much our participation has increased and our funding decreased. So we'll get a little loud. And we've also put in a request to meet with the governor and have meetings scheduled for Friday on our way back with the Anchorage DOT office. There's a few individuals in the office who have been really helpful and supportive with getting our material or dirt material request, CDS request in the STIP. And then the area planner is located in that office. So we can start talking about projects in Seldovia with them. City logo contest. So I don't know if you're aware that the Seldovia Volunteer Fire and EMS began a logo contest for their department back in early winter. And through that process and internal discussion, it was just suggested that we broaden the scope of the logo contest and extend it to the city of Seldovia as a whole, with individual department logos that follow similar branding for the department, the Port and Harbor, and Public Works, whatever. If there's other departments that need one eventually or that are interested, we could pursue that, but at least those three mainly. And so if council doesn't have any objections, staff will begin to work on that process and advertise it, and we'll see what we can do. Maybe do a little rebranding before summer, similar to like we did for the Chinook advertising, or, you know, what we've seen for 4th of July button. Any objections to moving forward with that?
Was there a winner picked?
There was a applicant that had more votes than the others, but there was a request to do some negotiation. I think that there was some terms of the contest that had not yet been met. So it's an ongoing discussion.
Are we trying to use that winner? Are you trying to use that winner or do a different one?
I think we would do a different one, but we would invite those individuals. I've already spoken with a few of them because they've reached out and asked about it. We would, and they're interested, invite them to submit new proposals, and they could utilize the ones that they had for the fire hall, but broaden it out, make it a bigger scope that it has more branding for the overall Seldovia, city of Seldovia.
Okay.
Okay, no objections? Then, the last big item on here is, after speaking with the Homer City Manager Rob, he suggested that we plan a joint work session for the Seldovia City Council and Homer City Council this summer, just to talk about priorities, touch base, continue networking and letting this relationship flourish, this partnership. If this is something that you guys are interested in, please let me know. We would want to make sure that we put some of that funding in the budget and of course plan it for the summer. That way, hopefully it could be like a day work session where you travel over and then travel back. But definitely let me know what you think of that. And then he was going to reach out to his mayor and council, and we'll just, that's a lot of ducks to put in a row, but it could be an exciting opportunity. Lastly is just the regular updates. We're the raw water transmission line CDBG application for the gap funding should be announced any day. They said mid-February, so I'm expecting this month or this week or next month. We talked about gateway kiosks, update on Seldovia space. The Hurley House has requested to terminate their rental agreement and has vacated their office. So we do have a new, not new, but another open space. 1984 Greater Spindle was replaced and installed, and it's back to work. I think everything else remains fairly status quo. Here, if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Heidi. Yep, lots of good information. I think it'd be fun and fairly productive if we could find a time to do a joint work session with Homer City Council. Sure, we could come up with a number of discussion topics to go over. And any other comments or questions from anyone else on council regarding the manager's report tonight?
Mayor Campbell,
Yeah, go ahead, John.
on that sewer pump, the lift station down there, is because of the confined space, is there anything else that we should be looking at along with trying to find a bid? I don't think that's something that we need to involve our own employees in at all because of the confined space, but we just need to get a bid, correct?
Yeah, I would think we'd have to, I mean, this should be as simple as getting, I mean, I don't even think we need an RFP. I think this is as simple as putting it out for, I mean, the manager drafting up something. I mean, it's a standard maintenance item. So, Heidi, I don't know what kind of thoughts you put in it, but yeah, I mean, it'll be a couple service companies. I imagine we're only going to get a handful of bids for it. So
Yeah, I'm just looking for cost estimates at this time to even see if there is a willingness and what it would like. Yeah.
Okay.
But it could be, if it's limited, if it's sole source procurement or limited procurement, it could be no RFP. It's just a matter of this is who's available and what it costs.
okay. Anyone else? All right, thank you, Heidi. Appreciate all the information. It'll take us down to item O, informational items not requiring action. Seldovia City offices will be closed Monday, February 19th in observance of President's Day. Item P, looks like we've got a matter to discuss this evening, and I would look for a motion.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I move to enter into an executive session pursuant to Alaska Statute 4462-310. Do I say all that A through C through 2 for matters, subjects that tend to prejudice the reputation and character of any person, provided that person may request a public discussion for the city manager annual performance review and invite in Heidi Gagel.
Okay. And do we have it's been a while since we did this. Heidi, we need to vote on this, correct?
So you need a second and then a vote.
I'll second that.
Second.
Yep. Okay, we've got a second. So we've got a motion to enter into executive session this evening by Councilmember Swick. We have a second by Councilmember Kennedy. Any further discussion on the motion before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the motion to enter into executive session this evening. Again, for matters and subjects that tend to prejudice the reputation and character of any person, provided the person may request a public discussion. Subject is city manager annual performance review. All those in favor, Langbart,
Aye.
Rojas,
Aye.
Kennedy,
Aye.
and Swick.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes with 4 in the affirmative. And let the record reflect that member Keithley is also, she had to check out to catch a flight. So she is absent. So that's 4 in the affirmative with 2 absent, and that motion does pass. So we will go ahead and enter into executive session. And I believe for those of you online, there is the city clerk sent out a separate link, and we'll have to go ahead and sign out of this one and then sign into the other link. And then when we come out, we'll do the same thing. We'll sign out of that one back into the regular one. So it's a little bit of a process here. So, and just make sure that you ensure that you are by yourself and no one else is in the room. And then we'll clarify that once we're in. Anything else, Heidi or Liz, before I forgot?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll go ahead and recess from the regular meeting, and everyone can get signed out, and then we'll see you on the other link here in a couple minutes.